Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm just here to do another process video. So I thought we'd carry on with the Tilda paper pack embellishments. Sorry, can't talk for some reason. So last time we made these three little embellishments, and so I thought we'd just kind of continue on that track because it seemed to be quite well received. It was using this Tilda Sewing Bird paper pad, which lots of people commented and said was a lovely pad, which it really is, and it had been in my stash for a really long time and I had been hoarding it. In fact, Katie mentioned that she was kind of trawling the internet looking for one of these and couldn't find it anywhere, which then obviously sent me into a bit of a panic of, oh, why am I trying to use it up if you can't actually replace it? Why us crafters kind of do these things, I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm going to go with it and continue trying to use it because actually, you know, it takes you a really long time to go through these paper pads, and you know, I can make lots of things with what's left in here. I don't need to go into kind of panic mode just yet. Although the things that I'm actually using mainly are the die cuts, which are obviously kind of the bits that I'm finding really precious and hard to part with. So it's kind of a brave move for me. Anyway, I put that to one side. So obviously last time we did these three, and I just wanted to kind of show you how they would look a little bit. Now this is not even stitched together yet. It's kind of just, you know, just literally I've thrown together some papers that I thought would maybe make a nice kind of journal, but I mean, it's, you know, it's not even stitched in. But I just thought I would come and show you the kind of finished results really. So, I mean, obviously we made this one, which, I mean, I had talked about using as a pocket. So obviously kind of would, you know, glue it down on the page with the three sides and just pop it on like that. You know, so I thought that looks pretty good. And obviously, you know, if kind of I end up selling this as a kit and then it didn't quite fit in your journal, you have got then, you know, room for manoeuvre to be able to chop it down slightly. You know, so I think that's, you know, kind of good enough really, to be able to kind of alter the size of it should you need to fit it in a book that you were using it for. Just having a look to see whether I'm in frame, and oh gosh, I hope I am. Again, I'm at my son's work desk, and you know, I've piled the iPad up on books again. So yeah, anyway, I think it looks really kind of pretty on most of these papers, to be honest. I love it on this one. I think that's really, really nice contrasting look. So that's kind of how it would look. And then, you know, this one, I kind of mentioned that I would have this as a belly band, kind of just gluing it top and the bottom and kind of attaching it to a page. So, you know, and as you can see, it kind of, you know, is nearly the length of this. And these are kind of my standard size journals, which, why do I never bring a tape measure? I wonder whether this is accurate. Probably not. No, I don't think it is. Anyway, these are A4 size sheets of paper. So they're just folded in half. And then obviously any scrapbook papers I've cut down to kind of, you know, be of a similar size. They tend to be slightly bigger, but, you know, not by a lot. So that's the kind of size journal that this would be. So there's that one, and then there's this one, which again I said I would kind of use. I would use this. I'm not saying that anyone else would have to use it as a kind of pocket. And again, I would just kind of glue it on three sides and pop it down, and then you could just obviously pop things into the side of it. So that's that. So I put these out of the way, and we'll crack on and do some more. So I've brought along obviously the same paper that we had been working on. But I've also brought along, just for, you know, by way of a change really, I also brought along this pink colour, which I thought would be rather nice, and I thought actually went really nicely with the kit. Well, it's not really a kit, but with the paper line, you know, as an alternative Sorry, I had popped out a few bits ready to use so that I wasn't just boring you like last time, just popping bits out. And now obviously I've moved out of frame to try and gather them back. So I just thought that the pink was quite a nice kind of contrast, really. So, you know, we will still continue to work on this, but maybe for today we'll kind of work on the pink just so that it's something a little bit different, so that you're not just really sat there kind of bored. You know, because obviously that's not particularly fun watching, you know, the exact same kind of things being used, is it? So, and would you believe I've got this horrible feeling now that of all the things to have forgotten to actually bring along, I'm not sure I've actually got my scissors here. Oh yes, I have. I thought that was strange because I had actually got them out on the pile, but I thought they'd perhaps slipped out, you know, when I was bringing everything in. So what I thought we could do is maybe make a corner embellishment, which actually now I'm looking, this I think, it's got a faint script, I don't know whether it's picking it up in the camera, but I think this is the right way up. Now what I quite like to do is just literally tear my pieces when I'm using a corner one. And again, I mean, you know, when I kind of say what I like to do, I'm not saying that that's right. I'm saying that's just how I quite like to do it. The only reason I say that is because I've been watching Escape to the Chateau, which is a programme that we've got over here, which just people have got these most beautiful chateaux in France. And the chap on it, oh, I feel really terrible saying this, but you know, he's really nice and everything else, and then every now and then he does this thing where he'll say, oh, what we do in our chateau, and it just sounds really, to me, I think, really awful. Now, I'm not saying that he's awful or anything else, you know, it's only when he says that that I think, oh gosh. And then I thought, oh, I do that in my videos, and when I say, oh, what I like to do in my journals, I'm not meaning, oh, because I'm, you know, my journals are great. I'm meaning, you know, my preference is this, but your preference is probably something else. You know, that's kind of how I'm saying it. So I just wanted to say that because I was just kind of aware that I was doing that a little bit. And I thought, the one thing that I found really irritating about him, and I'm doing that. So, you know, anyway, I apologise if that was getting on anyone's nerves. It was, you know, kind of, you don't really notice that you're doing things sometimes, do you? So I'm just kind of playing around, and obviously I've brought along a bit more vintage book page that I thought I would kind of play around with. So what I might do is get gluing straight away, because as well I am aware that, you know, sometimes I do deliberate a little bit too long. And again, I don't want to actually bore people completely with the, oh, you know, what shall I put here? What shall I put there? You know, I do appreciate that lots of people have come back and said, oh, it's so nice to see that you know, you do that as well, because so do I. You know, that's so nice to hear that other people are also doing that. But equally, I suppose, you know, they're not necessarily doing that on video for everyone to be watching and just bored. Sorry, I'm just unclogging my glue here, because although I had the lid on this, it actually still had clogged up. So I'm just unclogging that for the purposes of the video. Right, let me just check that I have unclogged it enough. Just having to use a little flower stem here because I did have a needle in my tin, but I can't actually see it now. And again, I'm kind of trying not to be quite so long-winded today. Oh, not unclogged properly. You see, greatest plans just, oh, there's the pen. Greatest plans and all that, they just fail you just as soon as you kind of come onto filming. It just goes horribly wrong from the moment you click record, I sometimes find. Right. Come on. Now it's oozing out like everywhere. So, and again, now very disorganised, but I have got a little piece of tissue here, so I might just quickly kind of dab that off, because otherwise it's a bit too much. I don't want it kind of wringing wet with glue. So, right, move the tissue to one side. I've got this horrible vision now of actually now the tissue gluing onto the wall, because it's kind of landed quite near the wall where I've just put it to the side. And it'll be stuck against the wall when I come to finish and clear up in here. A bit like a comedy sketch today, I'm afraid, so not quite sure what's going on. Right. I mean, I think that looks really pretty there. The only thing that's a bit of a shame is obviously we lose the bottom bit of this, but you know, that doesn't really matter, does it? Because it did look very pretty like that. So I'll just glue that on. So hope everyone's having a good day. Let's dab my glue again, because it's actually, you know, coming out very thick and fast now. Right, let's pop that down like that. So I've been mucking about with my my vintage treasures, as I kind of now refer to them, trying to create the, you know, or trying to start with making my kit. It is very tricky. I mean, so far I've just done a couple of journaling cards, and obviously an entire kit's a bit of a different ball game. So yeah, it's proving tricky. So there we go. Right, and then I could have something like this here. That looks quite pretty. And then I've also brought along just a few little stamped pieces that I could use. I've got a little butterfly here that I could just cut out. I mean, again, really I should have cut this out beforehand, so you weren't just now watching me cut the butterfly out, but sometimes it's just hard to think of everything. And you know, I think some people kind of do these process videos where they actually do craft, so I guess it's not quite so bad. But for those of us who kind of move to a different space, you know, where the lighting's better or the desk setup's better or whatever, I mean, you're actually having to bring a lot of things to the area, the table, you know, to do the video. And so you're kind of already bringing everything, you know, all but the kitchen sink. So to actually kind of remember everything is kind of tricky, I think. So I could have it like that. That looks quite pretty. And then again, I've just brought along a few pieces of lace. I've got that same pretty blue lace that we used the other day. So we could have a bit of that kind of running along the bottom. That looks quite pretty. I've got these gorgeous bright pink fuchsia pink flowers here from some trim. So we could pop them on here. Could have it there instead of the one that's kind of onto the paper. That's quite nice. Just kind of deciding which colour of the lace trim. I mean, could have this lilac. That's quite pretty. It's quite nice to kind of mix all these beautiful colours together. I mean, this is all super girly colours, but you know, I don't need an excuse to use super girly things. I love girly stuff. So could have that like that, which I think looks quite pretty. I have got a bit of pink trim, which we could use that. Nope. Nope. Right. Okay, get this the right way round. Because there kind of is a right and a wrong, isn't there, on the lace, you know. So, right, I'm going to kind of stick that, not overhanging by too much, if you see what I mean. I mean, this is quite a thick lace trim, but embellishment can take it. So I just have it overhanging just a little bit, so that when it's stuck down in the journal, it would just overhang at the bottom just a tiny bit. And then I think I'll have that flower kind of over the lace trim. So I'll just, I might have the clock on there as well. So I'll stick the clock down first. Like that. I mean, I know these videos, you know, they're probably a bit samey now. Which, you know, I have seen other people kind of saying that, but I mean, it is actually quite hard to think of new things to do all the time. So, you know, again, don't want it to be kind of really dull to watch doing the same old stuff, but, you know, I mean, I quite like watching people do the process videos, even if they're doing kind of something I've seen them do before, because it still looks different if they're using different papers, different fabrics, you know, different kind of embellishments and kind of images, you know, so kind of it's not necessarily, I don't find it necessarily that dull to watch, but there is kind of a limit to this glue. Do you see how it's coming out really thick? So again, I'm just going to take the tissue and just dab it a little bit, because I don't want glue kind of everywhere around here. I wonder if there is a right or a wrong way to that flower. Who knows? Yeah, I don't want to be kind of really boring everybody, but equally, you know, I don't actually mind kind of watching people do the same things, because I actually think, although it's the same stuff, I'm still feeling inspired by their use of different colours or different fabrics, or, you know, different themes that are going on, you know, kind of. So even if it seems like at the outset it's the same old techniques, they're still kind of then producing different results, is my kind of way of looking at it, I suppose. So I don't know whether everyone else feels that way, but I'm going to have that little button there because I think that looks really sweet. And actually what I should have done was put that on a 3D dot. So I'm going to wipe that and I'm going to put it on a 3D dot. We did a bit of that in the last one. I rather liked that. So what I'll do, just glue this flower down. I have got my glue gun here beside me. I haven't tended to use it so much in these videos recently, but perhaps I should have used it then. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to put my stapler over that flower, just because obviously it's kind of being stuck onto that lace, so it just, I feel, needs a little bit of pressing down. And I'll just take those 3D dots and just cut one roughly. Doesn't have to be perfect, because obviously you're not really going to be seeing kind of the mess I've made of cutting it. Like that. Okay. So put a bit of glue on here. Oops. That glue is really coming out and it's now sticking everywhere. I think this is probably now the messiest that I've got on a video. I mean, be prepared, because I'm sure it'll get worse, because I am a very messy crafter, I have to say. Right, that looks very cute, I think. And then did we stick the butterfly in the end? We didn't yet. Just put a bit more glue on there, and I'm just going to dab that off a bit. It's one extreme to the other. The glue wasn't really coming out, and now it's just really oozing. Still, better that than clogged up, I suppose. So I will just trim that lace from the edge. And I'll just trim this bit here, just to kind of neaten it up a little bit. That looks really pretty. Well, I guess it does if you like these girly shades, which I do. So I'm going to put that out of the way while the bit's dry on there. I might just put my stapler up there on it, just to keep it kind of gluing down. So that was the first embellishment. Now I also have pre-prepared this laminated image. So I've laminated some other things, but obviously not for use with this journal. So I shall just cut this mason jar, which was just one of the die cut pieces that I popped out earlier before coming along. Now obviously I did a tutorial for these, so if you haven't watched that, you might like to check that out. I really like using these. I think they come out really pretty and add something just a little bit different to a journal. Somebody did comment on my tutorial and said, oh, aren't you just going to have kind of, you know, shiny laminate on a, you know, shabby chic journal? And I have replied obviously to that person. You know, I love getting your comments, and it's really nice to kind of hear your thoughts, and you know, it's you know, really good kind of to obviously be able to kind of hear your thoughts when they're kind of, you know, querying, I guess, like, you know, questioning kind of something, because, you know, absolutely. And, you know, I kind of agreed and said, yes, I totally agree that, you know, kind of the theory of that, you'd just think, oh, why would I want, you know, a shiny piece on my shabby chic journal? But I did reply and said, you know, although I do agree, I actually think they look really, really nice once they're decorated and embellished. I no longer think they look, I'm not saying they don't look like a laminated piece, but I think once that they're decorated and embellished, I actually think they do look really shabby chic. You know, so I mean, obviously, again, it's just my opinion, and, you know, obviously I don't expect everyone to agree with me. You might agree, you might not agree. But I actually do think they look really pretty. And I just think that adds something a bit different, and it's nice to have different textures and, you know, different kind of things in the journals. So, you know, that's kind of my thoughts on it, really. But I totally get what the lady was saying too, because, you know, I do think at first kind of glance, or at first kind of, you know, thought, you do think, oh, not sure I want that in my journal. But I just think they turn out really pretty. So I'm going to leave that to dry for 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do, I just cut roughly around it for a moment, just so that I can continue using this sheet of paper. So I'm just going to pop that to one side just while it's drying, just for a minute. You know, don't need it to be 100%. I'm going to pop a book on it to kind of flatten it down a little bit more. So that's that. Now the next thing, I've got these cards that I bought recently from a charity shop. I think I've used these cards a couple of times before. Certainly I had used them a couple of times, I think, in my Beatrix Potter journal. So again, I just thought I would kind of create something with this. So, you know, possibly kind of layer up something here, just using one or two of the elements. So what I'll do, just literally, you know, I'm really, I mean, it really doesn't matter. Don't have to be kind of overthinking this or being too precise. Just literally cutting, you know, very roughly, and obviously I will, you know, cut it to size better now. Now I have a smaller piece of paper to work with. So I'll just cut it down, and probably it would be nice to have the border showing. so like that. So I'll just cut this other piece down. Like that. Okay. Right. They're not looking very straight now, but just kind of like this, I thought would look quite pretty. So I'm just going to have to try and neaten up that bottom bit slightly because it's not very straight. Right. Oh, I think it's even worse now. Oh well, it probably doesn't really matter too much. I want to be here all day just cutting it and cutting it, and it's in the meantime just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay. Oh, can't leave it now. I have to just take that tiny bit off. Right. Hopefully that's a bit better. Okay. So what I thought, just glue this one down. Spread this one out with the card. I think I said before how helpful I find it doing these process videos, because it really then, you know, I'm not overthinking things because I'm busy chatting and, you know, focusing on kind of doing the video, not more than doing the crafting, but certainly equally to doing the crafting, which I personally find really helpful. You know, because otherwise I can be here endlessly. So yeah, for me it's very helpful. So just thought we could have this, you know, somehow here, or you know, we don't have to have that. We could use kind of something else, or we could use kind of more, you know, a stamped image. These cute reels of kind of thread. Really sweet. Did also bring along a couple of chipboard tiles, which I just thought might have been able to use somewhere, but I'm not sure that this is the right item to use them on, if you see what I mean. And again, I've brought along some little mulberry flowers ready to take apart just to use. You know, I just really like these because they just are the perfect size. They're very tiny, and so they look really pretty on kind of delicate embellishment pieces. You know, whereas sometimes the flowers that you buy can be quite, oops, quite bulky. That looks quite pretty there. Got a little bit of pink lace that I could pop somewhere. And then we could have a couple of the buttons, maybe down here. We should have some of the lilac lace instead. I love this lilac lace. I especially love it against the pink. I think it's really pretty. Sometimes I find, you know, colours that you wouldn't necessarily automatically put together are really pretty, aren't they? Just pull my book back And just check that there's nothing else that we could use instead of this this shaped one that I've popped out. So I mean, we could cut something out of one of the pages. You know, this page here particularly has got lots of different images on it, so I'll just tear one of those out. And I think I said before, when I went through this pad before, luckily I'm not that struck on the back of this particular page, so you know it's easy for me to cut this one up without feeling too traumatized. So that being said, I do want to keep it as intact as I can so that I can use as many of the other bits, if you see what I mean, you know, because this blue's really nice. Might want to use that somewhere, even if it's just punching out some butterflies from it or something. It's a pretty colour. And actually looking, they might actually be too small. I mean, the alternative, obviously, is that we could cut out one of these ladies. So I'll just cut this lady out for a moment. Now, maybe she's too big, I don't know. But she might be better on the card itself, you know, instead of all the layered up bits and bobs. Just move these to one side for a moment. Oh, she's a bit lost on there, unfortunately, because obviously the card's not overly big. So I'll keep her for in a minute though, because you know, maybe do something else with her. I have bought some envelopes along. Might be able to put her on an envelope or something. Something like that maybe. In fact, probably on that polka dot paper we just cut off of her. Might be quite nice there. Yeah. Right, we'll come back to her. So just before I kind of make my final decision, I will just cut out this one just in case. Again, the light is glaring right onto this, so I really can't see to kind of cut this out today. I don't know why, but sometimes it's just worse than others. And the thing is, the iPad is slightly too high now that I really can't see particularly to actually check what I'm doing, which is a bit annoying. So I'll not make that very straight. Right, so I'm just checking whether we might prefer this instead of this shaped piece. Now, probably where that's stemming from, I'm probably just, I'm not wanting to part with this just yet, I think, because I really like those shapes. I don't know what that's about, and really very silly. I really shouldn't. Let's have a look. I mean, what we could do is maybe add some torn book page behind. Again, this is still just some of that, what's the word? Reader's Digest book. Couldn't think of the word then. So that's all that this is. But it's quite nice paper for layering. You know, because it's not got a sheen to it or anything like that. Obviously it is vintage. I quite like it. No, I'm going to have to go with this one, which, oh. Now, why, oh why does that pain me to use this, I wonder? Right. Let's get the glue. Let's stick it down before I can change my mind. Okay. when I watch other people's process videos, I must admit, I don't know that they seem to kind of, you know, put things and then change their mind quite as much as I do. They kind of seem quite happy with it quite quickly. So maybe I am much worse for deliberating than other people after all. I don't know. Right, it's stuck down now, so there's no going back. No going back from there. So that's that. And then could have this on here. Now, do we want the stamped bit or not? I think it does add a little something there, doesn't it? So perhaps we'll put the little cotton reel down first. Oops, all fingers and thumbs today. Which is never obviously a good thing when you're filming. I am, you know, if you've watched my channel regularly, then you'll know that I am quite a kind of clumsy person anyway, so this is nothing that unusual, but it's just some days you're worse than others, aren't you? So today's particularly bad, so pop that on there. Oops, oh, for a minute I thought I had that upside down. I thought, oh no, but no, it's just the light. Just the light. I couldn't see properly, so it just looked upside down for a minute, which obviously wouldn't be great. Although I have made these a couple of times where they fold down ways, and I quite like that too. Sometimes nice for a change. Right, so that's that. And then we can have this here. Just cut that little bit off. Just seems extra bad on the buttons. I don't know whether that's because they're small, so it seems to kind of show worse than the larger items. Pop that like that, and then the flower just to the side. Okay. And then flower. That looks pretty. Now, it's a bit of a shame because this piece of lace here is not actually quite long enough. I mean, I don't necessarily think that looks terrible. You know, it doesn't necessarily bother me that it's not really long enough. But I'm just going to try a couple of other bits just in case it would look better with a different bit that actually is the right length. It probably does, to be fair, doesn't it? So perhaps we'll go with the blue, and then it's going to be the right length. Oops. Okay. Trim that off. I mean, that looks super pretty, I think. Really, really pretty. I mean, you know, I don't think that's necessarily anything due to me. I think these papers are so pretty that it would be hard not to look lovely, to be honest. Now, what you could do, you see, in here is either add some pages to make a little booklet. Again, I mean, I'm in my son's bedroom, so I'm not sure he's got some free paper, but, you know, you could put some pages in here and make it a little booklet. And then, in accordance with my love of tying things, we could then tie it up, and then it could either be popped into a pocket, or obviously held on with a paper clip, or obviously could be you know, stuck onto the page as a pocket, a booklet, and also a pocket. I mean, I just love tied up things. I think they just look really cute. So I'm just going to glue that down now. Again, the glue's still coming out really juicy, so didn't need to kind of worry too much that it wasn't going to come out and hold it. It's oozing out, so there we go. So what I'll do is pop that now just to one side to dry for a moment, and then we'll go back to the laminated piece that we started earlier. Now let me just check what time I'm up to. Right, we're up to 41 minutes. The time absolutely flies when you're doing these, I must admit. I had also brought along, because I thought I'm going to have a go at doing a couple of the clusters, the Jessica wrap clusters. I don't know whether I'll have time to do any. So I just prepared the base. Now these were inspired by obviously Jessica initially, and then inspired by my happy mail from Laura. She sent me some clusters, and obviously I kind of you know, copied her how she kind of starts them off really. So, you know, we could have something like that. We could then have a bit of lace. Oops. Or we could have some different coloured lace. Or actually we could have that pink. I think the pink's quite nice with this. I mean, obviously Jessica does hers with one staple, and I've talked about that before, that I'm not there yet to have faith in the one staple method. I mean, hers are, you know, fabulous, and they do hold well with one staple. I don't think I'm quite ready to trust in it that much yet. So I still prefer to use glue, really. Just going to cut this this lace a little bit, you know, so I have a bit more that's not gathered, to see how it would look. I mean, obviously you get the same effect, you know, but I just kind of can trust it more if it's actually glued down rather than just the one staple kind of method. I mean, she's definitely got that, you know, down to a kind of fine art of kind of putting that staple on. And knows just where to put it. I'm not that confident, so I'm just going to pop this down here. I did a swap with Jessica, which I have mentioned I think a few weeks ago, and she very kindly in the swap sent me one or two of her clusters, or a few of her clusters, which was awesome, and they are indeed held with one staple. Not that I didn't believe that they were. But, you know, incredible to actually see them in the flesh, that they are held with one staple. And indeed, they did feel very robust, and they certainly weren't falling apart or, you know, anything else. So I have tried to make a couple, you know, copying hers actually. I haven't recently because I've been quite busy, but, you know, when I first received her package, I did try and kind of make a few just with one staple. And they turned out okay. I think her kind of knack is she kind of really piles things up, whereas obviously I tend to maybe spread my things out a little bit much. I mean, if you watch her video, she's got a great video where and it was uploaded quite some time ago, but where she kind of demonstrates that she's holding it in one place where she's going to staple. So like say she's going to staple here, so, and then she's layering all the items where she's going to put the staple. So it would be like that, for instance, and then, you know, maybe onto the book page, and she'd just staple it through here. So that's obviously, you know, that's the trick, is kind of piling high close together. I think mine, obviously, they're quite spread out. You know, so obviously the staple method's not really going to work quite so well. But yeah, that's kind of, I think her trick. Right, let's go with the glue. But anyway, it's fine to use the glue. I quite like using glue too, so you know, it's fine to use that. But I do think, you know, very ingenious to just do that one staple thing. You know, it really is very clever. I just don't think I'm quite there yet. Right, just going to literally place, talking of staples, just that's about the heaviest thing I've got with me at the minute, just to kind of hold that down for a moment. And then just going to pop this flower on. This one or this one? I think I went with this one first of all, which actually I think looks nicer because it's a bit more of a contrast. So I'll just glue this. And obviously these are really brilliant to use for, you know, tuck spots, or if you wanted to make a tag, then you've got these little clusters ready, you know, kind of for a variety of things really. You know, you could pop them on an envelope, you could put them on the cover, you could put them anywhere. You know, they're just really quite cool things to have, because wherever you hold them again in the journal, they just look great. So I'm just going to pop that to one side for a minute to dry. I have a whole variety of things going on here now, drying. And then bring back the laminated piece that we did earlier. So I'll just neaten it up now, because we cut it very scrappily just to, you know, have a smaller piece of paper to work with. I'm just going to cut that like that. Obviously, as you can see, the glue is not quite dry, because obviously the glue is coming out quite thick, but that's fine. So I've got that like that. Now, when I first popped that on there, I did use that lilac lace, which I thought looked very pretty down the side. I love the lilac against the pink, it looks really gorgeous. So we could have then kind of a little flower here, and then we could even, probably not that actually, because that doesn't really go very well. Got this little pretty lilac one here. Just take it apart. I've got it kind of with or without the leaves. So if we went with it with the leaves, that would be that. And you could always put some more lace running across the bottom. Oops. Looks pretty. We could have a kind of cluster of flowers going on down here. That looks really nice. I quite like something along the bottom really. I think that's you know, quite nice. So I'm just going to get on and just glue some stuff down, because again, you know, we were up to 40 minutes. I don't know what we're up to now. Almost 50 minutes now. So trying to be mindful of the time. Like that. Okay. And we'll glue the lilac down the edge here. And the lilac obviously is quite a thick piece. It's quite wide. So just pop that on like that. And I mean, obviously you can see a lot of the glue through there, but I mean, this glue really is pretty good. It does dry pretty transparent. So, you know, I'm not overly worried, because you really won't notice it, particularly once it's dry. Just move that out of the way a little bit. So we could have that little cluster going on there. Looks quite pretty, doesn't it? So down there. I'll go for this one. And actually, I mean, somebody, I can't remember now who it was actually, so I apologise that I can't remember your name. I really should write down the names of people who I'm going to mention, but somebody did mention, you know, stitching round all of these embellishments, because obviously it's got a sewing thing, and what a fabulous idea. I mean, obviously I haven't got my sewing machine up here, you know, so I don't want to kind of go and get it and bore you all with that now. But fabulous idea, because actually it, you know, they would all look great being stitched. So I'm going to move that to one side now. And we did talk about doing an envelope. I wonder if we have time. Not sure whether we do, to be honest. Let's quickly have a look. Just make sure that's kind of straight-ish. Straight-ish. So if I were to layer that up, and layer it with either the pink or the blue, perhaps. It's quite strange because obviously I haven't coffee dyed the, actually I did coffee dye this pink paper, but I haven't coffee dyed the Tilda papers. I did coffee dye, I think, this, although I can't recall now whether I did or not. But obviously I haven't coffee dyed these envelopes, so they look quite stark to me. So, you know, maybe not. Let me just look in my bag that I brought along and see whether I have got any of... Yeah, I have. These beautiful buff coloured envelopes, which I picked up a few weeks ago. They were just some buff coloured cards with envelopes. Really love them. I mean, I always love this buff coloured you know, paper and card and things. I think it just adds something really lovely. So what we could do is kind of have it on that, which I just think looks better. I wonder if it would be better here without the lamp on today. I'll just try. Hold on. It's probably better for me, but I'm not sure that it's better for you guys. If you let me know below, and then I know for next time. This again, where it would be great if I were live, because obviously, you know, you could tell me instantly and I would then know whether to switch it off or have it on. But yeah, I think just to be on the safe side, I leave it on. So, I mean, we could do a quick envelope, but I'm not really sure whether I have got time. Right, let's try. So, I might have to have it this way round, because obviously, just to get it to kind of fit into the fit for the envelope. Just move that to one side. Because although this is that script writing, obviously, you know, some of it's going to be covered up, so you're not necessarily going to see a great deal that it's sideways on, to be honest. Trim that down. It's kind of better. Obviously, we don't have to have her in the centre. So what I'm trying to do is make one of those little booklets that, again, I've done a tutorial for these, where you would kind of add some extra pages in here that you could kind of pop into your book. Or, of course, you could just leave this as an envelope, literally kind of hooked over the edge of a page or paper clipped in, or, you know, however you want it, really. But if we just kind of decorate the front of it, then obviously it's ready to go. So I might just glue the pink on now. My hands are now covered in glue, I'm afraid, so I do apologise if they look really awful, because the glue is obviously coming out so thick and fast that every time I'm kind of going anywhere near it, I'm getting quite covered in it. So it's again not a great look, really. Not great, but still, never mind. I doubt anyone's really that interested in real life what my hands look like. All right. It's kind of the glue, you see it's very thick, so it's even kind of coming out in the corners. So now obviously we could then have this either way round, so you could have it this way round or this way round, whichever way you wanted. So, and obviously because we actually aren't making this particularly for any particular journal, it doesn't really matter which way round we have it at the moment, because we don't know which page it's going to be going on. So you know, we don't have to get too hooked up on that at the minute, so that's quite nice. Now, do we want to layer it up with anything? We could layer it up with some book page. We could put some book page, you know, completely behind her. That's quite nice, isn't it? Let's see. Okay. So, I'm really trying to be speedy here. Here you all groan. Oh my gosh, it's her being speedy. Right. Okay. Because again, I didn't really have any clear plan of what I was going to do today. It was just a case of kind of you know, I knew I wanted to continue with this particular embellishment set, so you know, working with the same papers and things. So you know, I am quite winging it here, so again, I do apologise. Right. You just love book pages. I just love them. They really look great. Kind of again, everywhere. Right, so she's now back into some book page. And again, I mean, obviously if I had my sewing machine here, I could actually stitch around her, which would be rather nice. But obviously I don't, so you know, I won't be able to do that. Now, then what we can do is add some little bits and bobs around on here. I don't want the lilac on there. Let's have a look and see about the blue. I'm just going to cut some more of the you know, that's making it ruched. I'll just cut some more of that off so as it lays flat. As I say, sometimes I like this kind of ruched and sometimes not. I think for this one probably not. No. Just had to check which way that flap was, because I couldn't actually remember then which way we'd put it. So I quite like that there. I'll just cut a bit more of this down the side. Okay. So I would just cut that just roughly to length, just so that I'm not having it all trailing around, just while I'm kind of deciding where everything is going. So I mean, we could have it like this, and then what we could do is you know, pop around a couple of the die cut pieces. Obviously there's some more of that tape measure, that's really nice. I've got a little banner, that's nice. And then we've obviously got some more of the flowers and the buttons, which again, it's the buttons that really seem to be showing up those little bits of the paper, you know, where you've torn it out of the book. So we could pop that like that. It's quite pretty. Now, do we want her in the middle or to the side? I think maybe to the side, funnily enough. I think what I'm going to do is actually turn it round because there's a torn piece in that paper there. So I'm going to put her that side instead. And then that will cover up the torn piece. So just stick that down. And as I say, I mean, it is a shame that obviously the sewing machine's not up here because she would have looked lovely stitched on. You know, and had I not been doing a process video, I probably would have done that. But obviously because I'm here, I can't really do that. So because again, I'm doing this with my iPad and I still haven't fathomed out a way. Well, I don't think there is a way of actually kind of pausing the video and joining it together. There maybe is, and maybe I'm just not aware of it, but yeah, certainly I have not found a way of doing that. So and unfortunately I can't really do these videos with my camera because, well, apart from anything else, it's constantly flicking off, which would be very irritating, because I would have loads of bits then to have to rejoin, but also, you know, the setup, it wouldn't kind of balance well enough. My tripod wouldn't be able to balance well enough for me to be able to do these. Right, so I'm going to glue this flower down. Just like that. Just tab that off. Okay. And then I'll just pop some lace down the side. Like that. I really am getting very messy, to be honest. Never mind. Never mind. Nearly finished, and then I'll wash my hands. So there we go. So I'm just going to have to weigh this down as well now. So I have actually brought along a corner punch, so I will just lay that on there for the moment. And then the stapler. Just so as I've got kind of heavy-ish bits on kind of either end. That was a shame, wasn't it? I should have turned it round first. Right, turn it round now. I mean, as you can see, it's already kind of holding now, just from a couple of seconds of being weighed down like that. It's pretty good glue. I mean, it does kind of set pretty quickly. Even if it's still wet, it's generally setting. Now, I thought I had a red button. Yep. And I've got a larger pink one, so I have the red one. And the pink one, look quite pretty. I like to just kind of mix it up and put some stamped things in places too. I really love stamped images, so you know, it's nice to kind of mix them in, I think. Oh, what is wrong with this glue? every time I'm gluing things it's just oozing out, so that's what happens, you see, when you come along and it's clogged up and you have to unclog it. Oops. Okay, and I'll just pop another button down there. Like that. And then, just a case of now deciding what else we want on here. I'm just going to cut these little bits off of here because they're also showing up quite a lot on this one, which, you know, don't necessarily like that. I'll just get rid of those. There we go. Like this. Right, let's move our things that are weighing it down. So we could have it like this, and then we were going to have a flower, I think. Did we talk about having a flower? We might not have done. I might have just been thinking, let's have a flower somewhere. Is that the same as that? Yeah. Got some ink all over my hands, I'm afraid, so you have to excuse my hands. They're now inky and gluey, which is just, you know, horrible and unsightly. So right, and that's just got something on there. Pick that off. Right, so I mean we could have it like that, which I think looks quite pretty. Oh, we did talk about having the tape measure on there, but do we need the tape measure? Not really. Well, I guess we could. I guess we could. So let's just pop the tape measure in as well, just for good measure. There we go. So we'll pop the tape measure on first. Oops. Like that. Yes, so I have finally bought a new laminator, obviously, hence the laminated mason jar there. So I think it was £15 in the end, which is pretty good value. I think it was Gail who did say she was just trying to work out, you know, whether it was worth buying a laminator. It's probably not really worth buying one, to be honest, unless you're going to laminate quite a few things. But I mean, obviously I can use it for things like, you know, when the kids do homework, sometimes they could laminate it, you know, things like that. I know that I've laminated before, times table practice sheets and things, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, actually I will kind of use it for other things as well, but probably, you know, in all honesty, if you're actually just getting a laminator just for the purposes of, you know, those little laminated booklets, it's probably not really worth it. Again, I did wonder about just laminating kind of 4 things to a page. I mean, that's how I tend to laminate things anyway, kind of, you know, 3 or 4 to a page, depending on obviously the size of the items, and then kind of offering those in my shop, because obviously then, you know, for those people who don't have a laminator or access to a laminator, you know, they could still then have the fun of making some of the items. I don't know whether that would be of interest to people. You know, again, kind of always just trying to think of other things, really, things that are a little bit different, or things that, you know, kind of that I sometimes see people make and think, oh, I wish I could get one of those, you know. I don't know whether people are thinking, I wish I could get some laminated pictures. They, you know, quite probably aren't, but I just wondered whether that would be something that would be useful to people. Right, so that's that one. So obviously what we could do with this is kind of add pages in. We could then put some string around it, kind of like the booklets that I quite like making in journals. You know, and then it would be tied up. So just to kind of demonstrate what that would look like. Again, I'm now tying this the wrong way. It's now not that easy to do. But you know, that's obviously how that would look then tied with the string. So really cute, I think. You know, so then you could obviously put your pages in and then you would glue it down into your journal. Or obviously, you know, like I say, you could obviously just have it hooked onto a page or something. So I'll have a bit of a think about kind of what to do, whether to finish that off with some pages or not really. So that's probably about it today. So we'll just kind of quickly review what we've made today. Again, I don't know whether that's just kind of really boring for people to have another look at what we've made. I quite like it when people show, you know, the projects that they have completed in a video. You know, so hopefully kind of that's something kind of useful that, you know, you kind of like to see. So we've obviously done the little cluster. We've done this little floating pocket or tuck spot there. We've done this corner pocket, and then here we've done the envelope booklet, and then here we did this little booklet as well. So just bringing back, and again, this, you know, isn't necessarily the journal, you know, because I don't know whether this is going to be sold as a kit or, you know, made into a journal yet. I'm not quite sure kind of what I'll do with this, but just to kind of show you again, you know, how things would be used. So this corner one would be glued onto a page like this, and obviously then used there like that. Again, looks really pretty on a variety of the pages. It's pretty on there, pretty on the green, very pretty on the polka dots. And I mean, as I say, that, you know, this journal's not, you know, it's not an assembled journal. Oh, I love it on those dots. That's really, really nice. So, you know, that's kind of that one. Then obviously we've got this little folding kind of booklet. So again, this could be kind of glued in like that, you know, or it could just be paper clipped on, which, you know, maybe would be the preference, because obviously this is card, so it's quite thick to have it kind of glued onto a page. So, you know, it would kind of be up to you really, how you'd want to kind of use it. And then we've got obviously the floating pocket, which really pretty. Again, I would just kind of glue that down and then use it as a kind of side pocket and a tuck spot. Again, looks really pretty, kind of in a variety of places and on lots of the different papers. You know, pretty on most of them, to be honest. Quite nice on this, what's this called? Honeycomb kind of pattern. Nice on these flowers. Beautiful on here. And obviously, you know, they're toning nicely with these ones that we made the other day. And so kind of, you know, once we've kind of made the, you know, the whole of them, they would kind of obviously make a nice little set. So, you know, kind of could mix and match them up. So some pages had the pink, some had the blue, you know, and they've all obviously got the coordinating items, which I really like. Then we've got obviously the folding booklet. So again, you know, that could just be glued in, and then obviously kind of you could put some pages in here and you'd open it like another page, or you could obviously hook it onto the side of a page if you didn't have the string, you know, and then you could do something with the flap, or you could just paper clip it on, you know, and have it as a kind of floating piece really. But again, that looks, you know, really nice kind of in a variety of places, and it's particularly nice on this blue because obviously the blue is picked up from the lace. And then the final piece that we made, we did one of those little clusters. So, I mean, actually, this has got a natural kind of piece for like a corner, because obviously it's got a corner here. So you could make this a kind of corner tuck spot. So just kind of gluing it into a corner there and kind of, you know, have it as a tuck spot on the corner. Or you could have it kind of in the middle, or, you know, however you like really, or kind of at the bottom like that, kind of at an angle. That's quite pretty. Yeah, kind of just however really. I just thought we'd kind of go through and see how they're coming along really. You know, I think they all look really pretty, so hopefully you all think that they look good. Everything looks good on this dotty one, doesn't it? And again on this dotty one here, which actually this was from the Tilda pad. You know, but you could obviously cover up that if you did, you know, if you didn't want that. You could cover that up, for instance, with the corner, and then you wouldn't see that at all. Just because obviously that's not really kind of in the theme. I think this might have been from a different Tilda pad. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of just now going off at a tangent really, and kind of just you know, talking and going on really. So anyway, the embellishment's coming along quite nicely, and we've obviously got quite a few going, so we'll come back and make a few more. You know, so hopefully it's kind of a really comprehensive kit, and, you know, plenty to kind of fill a journal with. So yeah, hope that you had fun and that you've enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and thank you so much for watching. Thanks very much. Have a nice day. Thanks. Bye.